Om Rajadhirajaya Prasahya Sahine Namo Vayam Vai Shravanaya Kurmahe Same Kaman Kama Kamaya Mahyam Kameshwaro Vai Shravano Dadatu Kuberaya Vai Shravanaya Maharajaya Namaha Om Na Karmana Na Prajaya Dhane Na Tyage Naike Amratatvamanajuhu Parena Nakam Nihitam Guhayam Vibrajate Yadyatayo Vishanti Vedanta Vijnana Sunishchitartha Sannyasa Yogadyataya Shuddha Sattva Te Brahma Loke Tu Paranta Kale Paramratat Parimuchanti Sarve Dahram Vipapam Parameshma Bhutam Yat Pundarikam Puramadhya Saggastam Tatrapi Dahram Gaganam Vishokastasmin Yadhantastadupasitavyam Yo Vedadau Swara Prokto Vedante Cha Pratishtitaha Tasya Prakritilinasya Parasa Maheshwaraha Na Tatra Suryo Bhati Na Chandra Tarakam Nema Vidyuto Bhanti Kuto Yamagnihi Tameva Bhantamanubhati Sarvam Tasya Bhasa Sarvamidam Vibhati Om Shri Sadgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai.
Hari Om everyone. Good evening to all of you. Welcome to chapter 18 Gita discourse. So first of all, we're really delighted to see all of you, see the participation. Thank you all for coming today. We know it's a working day. So again, thank you very much for taking the time and coming today. I'm not here to talk about why Gita chapter 18, that's why Swamiji is here. But what I do want to do is introduce our guest, introduce Swamiji, because a lot of you have seen him, maybe even talked to him, met him before. But we still I just need to talk a few words about Swamiji and the journey he's been on, just so that we can truly appreciate the honor that it is to have someone like him here. Swami Sarveshanandaji started his journey with Chinmaya Mission almost 25 plus years ago. I make it sound like he's really old, but no, he isn't. So, and he'll correct me later. But yes, it started close to 25 years ago in 1989 through a very chance meeting with Puja Gurudev Swami Chinmayanandaji. And from there, he started the Chik chapter in Hyderabad, and he was very active in a lot. The Chik chapter, Chik stands for Chinmaya Yuva Kendra, which is the youth arm. Which, you know, he was part of the youth arm at one time. He still is, sorry. That's why I said he still is. He's not a worker, he leads the Chik chapter today. So, chapter, he started that in Hyderabad and was very active in Chinmaya Vijayawada. And from there, he was there in Chinmaya Vijayawada till 2002. And after that, he was posted as a resident Acharya of Chinmaya Mission Dallas, where in the past few years, he's been responsible for the tremendous growth and exponential expansion of the Dallas Center from where it started to today, where we have 3 centers in Dallas plus Chinmaya Mangalam. So, and from that, he was then bestowed the Sannyasa Diksha in 2011. And Swamiji has been a regular coming to our Chinmaya Mission Bentonville for the past 10 years and has been instrumental in our growth and responsible for where we are today as well. Now, every time when I introduce Swamiji, I always talk about something unique, something new, right? So Swamiji is wondering what's new this time. Last time we talked about how Swamiji runs 32 miles a week, right? Wow, we're like, I wish I could do that along with all his schedules. And then we also talked about last time that he had given up on chocolate and coffee, two of his favorite things. Like, again, just remarkable to be able to do that. So you have a new fan over there. Maybe if we post those things, there'll be more. So the new thing I've learned about Swamiji's, can any of you guess what his favorite color is? So it's not orange, and everyone thinks it's orange, and so they keep buying everything in orange and give him. So
no option right now.
No option. But he has a secret favorite color. Does anyone know what it could be? No, it's lavender.
Pink? Okay. Thank you.
So yeah, he also has favorite colors. So anyway, with that, I will hand it over to Swamiji, and thank you very much, Swamiji, for coming here today.
So when I visit different places, usually there is a profile on the website, and they take it out, cut it out, and just read that. But Anup here, every time that I come, makes it interesting for me also to listen to it. Thank you, Anup, for the great effort put in doing all the research. I don't know where you get your information from. Hari Om and pranams to everybody. This is I would say a beautiful journey that in 2004 chanced browsing on the internet got us together, and we started with the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and over the years we have now come to the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So it's quite a tremendous journey, and all the efforts put, we see the evidence in the number of Balavihar children and the number of activities that this Chinmaya mission here, which has been named as Chinmaya Mahavira. So Chinmaya Mahavir Center has put in an effort all while to reach to this point. So we'll start with a prayer, then I'll take you through the first 17 chapters as a refresher, and then we will look into the 18th chapter. So please join me in the invocation. सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. This year is a very auspicious year for Chinmaya Mission and also auspicious for Chinmaya Mission Bentonville. The reason I say it being an auspicious year is that 2015 to 2016 we will be marking the celebration of Puja Gurudev Swami Chinmayanandaji's 100th birthday celebrations, which will happen this year. And what way to observe that celebration? By going through the 18th chapter, the final chapter. I hope in couple of sittings, at least, minimum, because second chapter and 18th chapter are the longest chapters in Bhagavad Gita. One has 72 shlokas and the other one has 78 shlokas. So it's going to take a while. Now Bhagavad Gita is a very unique text. When we look at the Hindu texts or Hindu scriptures, the Hindu Shastra is divided into 4 different categories. The primary scripture being Vedas. How many are the Vedas? 4 of them. Very good. Okay, you are here. So I can at least now bravely ask, what are the 4? Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, Atharva Veda. So that is our primary scripture. Those are called, together are called as the Vedas. The second category is called the Itihasa. Itihasa meaning the history. And the books under that category are Mahabharata and Ramayana. Mahabharata being the recent one and Ramayana being the ancient one. So Mahabharata has another name. It is called Shata Sahasra Samhita. The reason it is called Shata Sahasra Samhita is because it has Shata 100, Sahasra 1000, 100,000 shlokas in it, 100,000 verses in it. It's a very long epic. Whereas Ramayana on the other hand is a shorter one and it has only about 24,000 shlokas in it. So Itihasa, we have Ramayana and Mahabharata. The third category is called the Purana. Purana is the attempt by sage Vedavyasa, because when you look at the vast category of deities that we worship, various forms and various devas and devis that we worship, so he thought it would be convenient for common man to understand the various avatars and various expressions of that divine in different forms of deities. So what he did was he chronologically assembled the chronicles of each deity, a comprehensive idea of that particular deity. Now in today's world we understand chronicles of Narnia, But in the ancient world, it was the chronicles of, say, Ganesha. It was called the Ganesha Purana. Chronicles of Vishnu, Vishnu Purana. Chronicles of Devi, Devi Bhagavata. Chronicles of Krishna in specific is Bhagavat Mahapurana. So various deities and all their exploits, all their various deeds, and the devotees of those deities, their stories are also enumerated in it. That is the third category. And the fourth category is a vast category of do's and don'ts. And it is a huge section. And the most talked about Smriti, the do's and don'ts, is the Manu Smriti. Now it takes a while for somebody to go through all these four different categories to get a grip, to get a complete understanding, comprehensive understanding of basic Hindu tenets. So much so that ask any fellow Hindu, what is your scripture? They'll go all over the place answering all the different scriptures that they probably know. And they're true, they're right in one way, but you'll not find one single answer as such. But technically it has to be the Vedas. The rest of them are born out of that Vedas or auxiliary to that Veda. They are the auxiliary scriptures. The main one, primary one, is the Veda. In today's time, in today's busy scheduled effort, to find time to go through Vedas and Purana, Itihasa and Smriti is quite a challenge, because it has been written in a very respected language. We respect it so much that nobody puts an effort to go through that language. And what language is it? Sanskritam is the bhasha, the language. For luckily, the message that was given by Bhagavan Krishna to Arjuna qualifies to be all these above said scriptures, all these categories compiled into one format. So Bhagavad Gita can be called as the Veda, Itihasa, Purana and Smriti Grantha in one. How can this Bhagavad Gita be called as the Veda? Because one rule to categorize anything as the Veda Ukta or Veda Mantra is that it is Bhagavata Proktam, that which is spoken by the Lord directly. And definitely in this avatar of Krishna, he spoke these words directly. So it is the Veda. It is an integral part of Mahabharata, therefore it is Itihasa. It talks about the life of Krishna and his devotees in the form of Arjuna and Pandavas, therefore it is also the chronicles of Krishna. Therefore it is the Purana as well. And it gives us a very distinct, clear-cut picture as to what is to be done, how do we live, how do we interact. Therefore it is the Smriti Grantha as well. So all four culminating into one. And if you have dabbled around with Sanskritam, there are certain poets when they write, even to break those words into tangible format, it takes an effort. But two of these great poets have put it in a very easy formatting, that if you understand basics of Sanskritam, while you read the shloka, the meaning becomes evident. One of them is Adi Kavi, sage Valmiki, who wrote Ramayana. And the second one is Vedavyasa, whose literature or literary perspective is not to complicate the subject with complex words, but to give it with as much ease, with as much comfort. So he does not use complicated language in Sanskrit, he puts it in very easy format. Many of you may be thinking that, oh, you call this as easy? When you compare it with the other scriptures available, this is one of the easier formats. That if you know little bit of Sanskritam, you will be able to understand it. So Veda Vyasji puts this Bhagavad Gita, and just to see if you still remember when we started in this first chapter, I exactly know who all attended those first, second chapters. So I am looking at them directly. The rest of you who have just joined in, you can always claim, I did not, so I don't know. It is a teasing questions for these people. This is supposed to be a dialogue between Bhagavan Krishna and Arjuna. When was this Bhagavad Gita given by Bhagavan Krishna to Arjuna? Technically it has to be on the first day. But when you read through Mahabharata, the original text written by Veda Vyasa, the first day of the war, of the 18 days war, the first day, it starts with Yuddha Parva, the chapter dealing with or starting with Yuddha or the Great War. You will not find this Bhagavad Gita given in or referred to in that first day. But instead, we find this Bhagavad Gita referred to in Bhishma Parva. The Kaurava army was led by their commanding chief, was Bhishma. And Bhishma was like a solid wall that nobody could penetrate through. And it happens that they finally get through Bhishma on the 9th day. Bhishma is lying down on the bed of arrows. Dhritarashtra, who was very comfortable because he knew that as long as Bhishma was alive, nobody could touch, nobody could penetrate or impact the Kaurava army. And he had schemed enough. Though Dhritarashtra was blind, he was a very shrewd person. He knew, he was a very calculative person, he knew how to play his role. Of the entire Pandava army, he looked at and analyzed them each and found that there is only one person who had the capacity to challenge Bhishma to put him down, and that was Arjuna. And if Arjuna is in his normal condition, then it would be very difficult for the Kauravas to win, which is what Dhritarashtra was hoping, that his sons, Kauravas, win the war. He could not scheme at that point wherein he could eliminate Arjuna once and for all. Otherwise he could have done it. There were a lot of attempts made by the Kauravas to kill Pandavas. They were in a house and the house was set on fire. They were poisoned. There were a lot of schemes done. If Dhritarashtra had thought of this before, he may have even eliminated Arjuna permanently. But he did not have that opportunity or time at his leisure. So he took the next plan was to destabilize Arjuna psychologically, psych him out so that he will be so destabilized that he will not be able to be his best on the battlefield. So he sends his personal assistant, which was Vidura, but Vidura resigns from that post, appointing Sanjaya as secretary for Dhritarashtra. He sends this Sanjaya and this message to be delivered only to Pandava. If you cannot isolate Arjuna, at least deliver it only to the Pandavas. make sure you don't deliver this while Krishna is there, because he is the only one who can probably read through my message and the impact of it. So make sure you avoid him. So go little late after Krishna has retired to his camp. When was this message sent? A very strategically sent message. It was sent to the Pandavas through Sanjaya by Dhritarashtra the evening before the war could begin. Like if tomorrow morning is the war, today evening, late at night, was when Sanjaya was sent. Krishna had already retired. But then each chariot, just to, so that they can recognize who is riding the chariot, carries its flag. What was Arjuna's flag? Hanumanji was, that's why one of his names is also Kapidhvajaha, the one who has the chariot of Hanumanji's flag. Dhritarashtra's was a golden kalasha or a pot. Krishna from his camp, from his tent, sees this, the flag on a chariot rushing towards Pandavas, and that is of Dhritarashtra's. So Krishna says, this seems little suspicious, and dal mein kuch kala hai. Something is wrong here. So he quickly pulls the things and he runs to the Pandava campsite. Sanjaya is already there, Pandava is already sitting, and Krishna barges through. And he sees the hesitation in Sanjaya's face. Before Sanjaya could have an upper hand in saying something, because he saw that hesitation written all over it, he quickly looks at Yudhishthira, the oldest brother, the elder one sitting there. He says, "Hey Yudhishthira, do you mind me being here?" Now Yudhishthira looking at, when they all loved Krishna very much, so as soon as Krishna came in and asked this question, he feels obligated. What are you talking? You being here is a blessing. So he in fact gets up and gives his throne and makes Krishna sit, and he sits at his feet. Now Sanjaya is in a bind. Now he cannot tell to the king saying that, no, I ask him to get out. Now he has given the respectful seat and he is sitting at his feet. So he just gulps it down and gives the message that Dhritarashtra has asked him to deliver. The point was that give it when Krishna is not there, but that seems to be unavoidable. And after giving the message, he is waiting for his answer. Again Krishna jumps in, seeing Arjuna in a hesitant mode. Bhima was the only one who was very sure of this war. He wanted to go into the war. He was raging. Dhritarashtra's message was, what will you get killing all these people? You have already shown your worth by creating Indraprastha. Find some other land and establish yourself rather than snatching this. Otherwise, this bloodshed, you don't know how far it will go. Bhima, he was sitting in a chair, it's called Simhasana, the throne with the lion head carved out of gold. His anger listening to this message of Dhritarashtra sent through Sanjaya, that with the anger he crushed the head of the lion into powder. So Krishna saw that, Bhima is ready, Arjuna is hesitant, Yudhishthira is thinking, Nakula Sahadeva are looking forward for Yudhishthira so that they can say we also agree. So there is a little tricky situation. Again, with the presence of mind, he jumps in again and he says that Yudhishthira, do you mind if I answer on your behalf? No, what can poor Sanjaya say? No, I want answer from him. Too late. He didn't calculate Krishna's presence while delivering it. He was not prepared for it, and Krishna was too smart and he was prepared to read through what was happening. Though it was not very explicit, he could read through. And he jumps in and says, I'll answer on their behalf. And the answer is very simple. Tell Dhritarashtra that the answer will be given on the battlefield. Meaning that is inevitable now. But that which was supposed to be impacting Arjuna had already taken its roots. Samshayatma vinashyati. Those who have doubt, once the doubt takes a root, you cannot move forward. It's not a healthy environment. And with that kind of a doubtful mind to lead the entire army to the war, it's not a right frame of mind. But if Bhagavan Krishna were to corner him and ask him, hey, is there something bothering you? He was too proud an individual. Abhimana was so strong that he would probably say, no, I'm fine. And maybe if it were a teenager of today's generation, I'm good. It took me a while to understand that word. When something prasad or something is to be given and you're distributing it. Sorry, I'm good. I didn't ask you whether you're good or bad. Do you want it or don't want it? No, I'm good. Maybe Arjuna would have also responded saying that, I'm good. So he was waiting for that opportune moment to track down Arjuna's mindset and to reframe it, to strengthen it. And that opportunity comes to Bhagavan Krishna when on the first day of war, there were a few technicalities that were missed. The victims were Pandavas, the victimizers were Kauravas. So it was the victims who were challenging the Kauravas for the war. So in those days, those who are challenging were to blow the conch, saying that, hey, we now challenge you for this war. But as things really get messed up on the Kauravas side, because there was a reason for Duryodhana also to lose his calm, because Yudhishthira shoots 3 arrows to the Kaurava side. In those days, there was a ritual that if there is somebody who is elderly and that you respect on the other side, though you are on the opposite sides of the war, you can offer your prostrations, you can offer your salutations to the other person by shooting an arrow in front so that it lands in front of their chariot. So Bhishma, observing that Yudhishthira has saluted to him, he asks, have you saluted to the commanding chief of Kauravas or to your grandfather? He has to also be sure, right? What role has he to play while giving a blessing? See, whenever somebody touches your feet or seeks a blessing, you have to say, give out a blessing. As an elder, that is your responsibility. Have you watched Mahabharat, the TV series? So they always used to, Ayushman Bhava. That is the safest bet. The most politically right answer, blessing, Ayushman Bhava. This day, when he asked this question, and Yudhishthira says, of course it was to my grandfather. Responds Yudhishthira. And Bhishma, instead of giving a politically right answer of Ayushman Bhava, he says, Vijayi Bhava. He is the commander-in-chief of the Kauravas and he blesses the Pandava chief that may you be victorious. And Duryodhana flips out. Which team are you on? Where are your loyalties? Are you on my side? For God's sake, you are my commanding chief. Being my commanding chief, how can you bless them to be victorious? And he starts censuring, he starts criticizing Bhishma, Drona, Kripacharya, who are holding a high esteem amongst all armies there. Especially the Kaurava army was looking up towards Bhishma and you start criticizing loudly and buddhe, you old person, you have lost your mind, you have lost your wits, and you start criticizing, it starts demoralizing the rest of the army. So that quickly Bhishma had to react to stop this Duryodhana. I am told that when husband and wife have a heated argument, they increase the TV volume. Why? So that others don't need to listen to what they are arguing about. So Bhishma was not married though, but he knew the trick. To drown this Duryodhana's noise, the only way that he had now left, or choice he had, was to drown his voice in the blaring sound of his conch. So he pulled his conch out and he blew it. On the other hand, Arjuna flips out. How can they challenge us for this war when they have been the ones who are, the victimizers, and we are the victim and we have to challenge? Who dare challenges us? So he says in that very flippant mood, he tells Krishna, Ratham sthapayam echyuta, take this chariot of mine and let me see who this. He recognizes. See, you have different cars. You exactly know when your father or mother or your husband or wife's car has come, just by listening to the sound of it. We may not be that perceptive, but if you have a pet, especially a dog, the dog can figure out even before the car has entered into the street, isn't it? It starts getting excited and starts wagging its tail and starts jumping all over the place. Why? The boss is coming. So Arjuna recognizes this is Bhishma, but it was unbelievable that how could Bhishma do this? He knows everything, but anyway, I want to check who it is. And Bhagavan Krishna takes this chariot and places in front of these armies. And Bhagavan Krishna has this opportunity now. Now you have to imagine, how big were these armies? Okay. Oh, you're guessing. I thought you will be giving me a... So a total of 11 battalions on the Kaurava side and 7 on the Pandava side. The complete figures, the number of human bodies that were on that battlefield were about 4.5 million people. Because in each battalion there were about 250,000 people. So you can imagine the vast 11 battalions standing. Now Krishna could have taken his chariot anywhere when he had to take. But he strategically places his chariot right in front of Bhishma, Drona, Kripacharya. And Arjuna, looking at these three, suddenly melts down. And he has, Bhagavan Krishna, what he had observed the earlier night, that weakness or that restlessness in Arjuna, he hit that weak spot by placing him right in front of these three people that he admired. And suddenly it sinks into him that yes, I have been preparing for 14 years, 13 years for this war, but it is these people that I have to kill. And he has already been tweaked in by Dhritarashtra's message. He has been thinking about it, meditating about it. Now such a warrior like Arjuna suddenly becomes psychologically disoriented. He forgets his choice, he forgets his responsibility. And this entire Bhagavad Gita is to understand the field of responsibilities and how to execute them. In fact, I would go to the length of saying it that anybody who is on an executive status in wherever that you are working, go through Bhagavad Gita. I will help you even in your day-to-day life. That's the beauty of Bhagavad Gita, that it is though ancient but so pragmatic in its application that however old it is still applicable in our day-to-day life. So to that disoriented Arjuna, who at that crossroads of his life, wherein he had to choose. Now when we talk of responsibilities and choosing a responsibility, I am yet to see a person when a responsibility comes their way who says, yes, let me jump into it. As a child, what is your responsibility? To study. The moment studies, when do you start preparing for your exams? You know the timetable or the scheduler is already out there even before the year begins as to when you will have these exams. But when do you actually start preparing for those exams? You are the exception. So for this question, I will not accept your answer. The rest of them can answer. Day before? You will try to postpone it as much as possible. You have homework. You have Friday evening, Saturday, Sunday. When do you start working on that homework? Sunday night, 10 o'clock. Hey, why are you up? I've got stuff. You don't understand, I've got stuff. What stuff? I have too much of things, I'll talk to you later. Couldn't you plan right from Friday evening? Oh, I had a lot of other stuff. Whenever there is a responsibility, as simple as you take, say, I'm sure when you are having, I'm just thinking of an example. Somebody has to empty the trash can, empty the trash bin, right? And you have 2 kids, and while you are cooking, you just call them out and say, hey, somebody, change the trash can, put in a new one, and starts dharma kshetre, kurukshetre. Between those 2 siblings, there is a war which begins. I did it last time, this is your. Moment there is a responsibility, you want to run away from it, you want to delegate it, you want somebody else to take responsibility. It's not just children. We have grown on the x-axis and the y-axis. But internally we have not grown. The moment we see responsibility, avoiding it, shying away from it, running away from it, dodging it, and the best, now we have become smarter because we have grown up, right? Delegating it. It's your responsibility, and at the moment that responsibility opens up, until the pressure builds into such a level that you cannot but do it. And the biggest cop-out statement that I've ever heard is people make, you may have heard this statement, when people make statements like, oh, I give my best under pressure. I would have called it out into a totally different thing. If under pressure you can yield this X amount of result, with peaceful mind, your result should have been 100 times better than that. But then we satisfy ourselves saying that, I give out my best under pressure. See, whenever that responsibility strikes, we have freedom. Again, freedom is not choosing whether I will execute that responsibility or not. That is not the freedom. Freedom is how do I execute that? There are choices, and that is where our freedom lies, as to what choice do I use to answer this situation. So at every intersection of life where we have to make a choice, we do have at least two choices. The choice which is right and the choice which is no, easy. At least I said. Minimum you have two choices. That which is right and that which is easy. Whether we are Indian, American, African, Chinese, what is it that we naturally incline to choose? Thank you. You made my job easy. We want to find the easy way out. But as the life seems to be, it just shoves that responsibility, saying there is no easy way out. And then instead of accepting it as my own life, my own experience, then I start building tolerance towards it. I will tolerate it. As if you are obliging. Who are you obliging? It's your life. And then over a period of time, these different layers of tolerations, they just build that pressure. They build that pressure wherein we are constantly restless. And this is my observation, which I probably make in every lecture. And you can see that built up, pressure. A simple question that you ask. And the simple question is, how are you? The answers that are given to that question, I have a caricature mind. So depending on what answers they give, I immediately sketch them in that environment. A little exaggerated in my own head. So what is the usual answer that you get when? Good, getting along, moving on, and the best is hanging in there. I think in Hindi. So hanging in there, translated to English, in Hindi, latak raha hu. So the last edge there in there. Another classic answer that we hear, how are you? In any language for that matter. Chal raha hai. Moving along. Chal raha hai. Gujarati? Chale che. Tamil? Point irke. Telugu? Yedo nadustundi. Kannada? Nadita ide. It's like, internally I want to run. But with all these things and the pressure of it and the burden of it, I am not able to move forward. Therefore, there is a synonym for responsibility in different languages. Responsibility is calm. Right, in Hindi, काम का बोझ. It's like a burden of this responsibility. If it is your life, if it is your experience that you have to carve out and move forward, how can it become a burden? But we transform every experience into a burden. Now I have introduced these three words. There is different experiences, and these experiences can be classified into these categories. It is a situation. Situation meaning I am going through an experience wherein I know what the solution is, I will apply it and move forward. The situation. The second, it is a problem. Same experience, when we are doubtful about what kind of solutions that, what kind of choices that we have to choose, as a little tricky one, and we call that same experience as a problem. Now it escalates to the higher level. What is the third level? It's a crisis. Same experience, but I have no clue what it is, let alone understand its solutions. Then I call such situations or such experiences as crisis. Isn't it our choice as to where we stand and look at it? Whether it is a situation or a problem or a crisis? So to such mindset of Arjuna who gets confused in his responsibilities, Krishna starts building his thinking process, builds that logical process. So in the second chapter, he answers all the questions raised by Arjuna in first chapter and then gives him a grand picture, a grand idea, a holistic picture, a comprehensive picture. So technically, if you have understood second chapter, you don't need third to 18th chapter. That is why in the last segment of the second chapter, he talks about man of self-perfection, man of self-realization. The last 18 shlokas covers Sthita Prajna Lakshana. So the entire 72 shlokas cover all aspects of Hindu basic tenets and its practical application. But Bhagavan, he picks up each one of these concepts and then starts expanding them, starts giving a logical approach in each one of these concepts that are introduced in the second chapter and expands them in the later chapters. In the second chapter, there is the famous shloka, Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala hetur bhuhu ma te sangostva karmani. Does this shloka look familiar? I mean, if you all who have been attending for a while, if you don't say it is familiar, then I will feel pained. You know that B.R. Chopra's Mahabharata series, the Karmanyevadi, that shloka was repeated so many times. At least that way it should have been familiar. So that shloka is taken and further expanded in third, fourth and fifth chapter. The sixth chapter, he talks about finding that equanimity, finding that balance within, with which we can act out in the world in spite of overwhelming situations in life. In the 7th through the 9th chapter, 7th, 8th, 9th, he talks about the jnana aspect of it, the knowledge aspect of it. Karma, jnana. In the 10th and 11th, the expansion of that jnana, finding unity in diversity, finding that oneness in spite of this multitude called samsara. 10th and 11th chapter explain that. 12th chapter explains bhakti. So karma, jnana, bhakti, and the 6th chapter covering dhyana. So if entire Hinduism has to be put in simple format of understanding, there are 4 paths: Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga and Dhyana Yoga. 4 paths. Why do we have 4 paths? There is a reason for that too. As each individual, when we interact with the world outside, we have 3 equipments. We call this as BMI, not body mass index, but body, mind and intellect, 3 equipments. To fine tune oneself, to find that peace and balance within at a physical level, at a body level, is Karma Yoga. To fine tune at the emotional level is the path of Bhakti Yoga. To fine tune at the intellectual level is the Jnana Yoga, path of knowledge. Having fine tuned all these 3, when you ascertain yourself that peaceful platform within, that come what may, whatever be the experiences, you are not restless from within. You are not distracted from within. Such peaceful environment is created within. Such mindset, when they sit on the seat of meditation, they easily glide into that state of being which is the highest satisfaction or highest bliss, which is the result of Dhyana Yoga. In and through these different steps, each one of these categories again is further classified, because we have different kinds of gunas, different natures. Sometimes we are very active, sometimes we are very passive, sometimes we are in a very elevated mode, by mistake. We are feeling very happy, peaceful, very calm, composed. Even within a day you can see that. When you have had a good sleep at night, you wake up in the morning and you have that pleasant quietude inside. As the day grows, I start getting more and more active. By the time I come down to the evening, the TV is on, football match is going on. Suddenly you wake up because the remote fell off your hand. Therefore, I don't have complaints in the evening discourses. In spite of my blaring voice, sometimes it does happen. I understand, you have had a busy day and then you went home quickly, freshened up, had your food, and then come to this discourse. The mind is becoming calmer, but we have not reached to a place wherein the mind is calm and yet awake. So it slips into, and you want to you are interested, you want to learn, but then the eyes don't listen. And finally you give in. The first I used to feel really bad. It used to hurt me, like, how can you dare sleep in my class? But then I had to outgrow of it through this experience, wherein this person slept through my class, and after the class was done, as I was walking out, comes to me and says, Swamiji, today's class was awesome. Ouch! Then I thought, this is worse than just sleeping in your sleep, don't come and comment. Then I had to outgrow that phase also, when this person had sound sleep. What is sound sleep by definition? Sleep for yourself and sound for everybody around. Snoring away to glory. And it becomes hilarious when you come in pairs. You come with your spouse also. The spouse is like, what are you doing? Wake up. And like, turns around. So the dull state of mind is called tamasic. The active stage is called rajasic. And that brilliantly calm state is called sattvic. Not just actions, intentions, ideas, every aspect of our life can be categorized in these three modes. That is taken into discussion in the 14th, 15th and 16th chapter. Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga. In the 17th chapter, Bhagavan almost concludes Bhagavad Gita. The thought is completed. But then, as a good advisor, what does he do? Through the entire 17 chapters, whatever he has spoken, all these concepts, he summarizes it in the 18th chapter. So all the concepts which were touched upon during the 2nd through the 17th chapter, there are some of the shlokas you will find as you will feel that I think I've read this shloka somewhere. It's because the thought was already repeated, and the same is concluded in a comprehensive manner in this 18th chapter. Therefore, when all of them were pitching in that don't miss this 18th chapter, they were not that far off, they were not that wrong, because even if you have missed the earlier 17 chapters, if you can pay keen attention, you'll at least get the grand scheme, the entire logical process, because it will touch upon all these concepts. Therefore, this 18th chapter as a synopsis is a grand ending of this Bhagavad Gita. So far what I spoke is just the introduction to Bhagavad Gita. Now we will step into the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So do me two favors. One, make sure that when you come tomorrow, you bring your Bhagavad Gita book. Do you all have Bhagavad Gita book? Yes. Thank you. So please make sure that you bring it along with you. Because though we respect this language, Sanskritam, it is as good as an alien language. So when you come here, I will be chanting this shloka, expecting each one of you to repeat it, so that you are familiarized with the shloka. That when you go back home, you know what you have heard, and you can make a further study, further in-depth understanding and analysis into what you have studied. So please get a Bhagavad Gita. I don't mind if it is a hard copy or a soft copy. I also am in a soft copy. So if you have a soft copy, bring it. But make sure that you have a copy that when you are reading through it, when I am chanting it, you are familiarized with it. And the inhibition that Bapre Sanskrit, that is broken. And then maybe it kindles that spirit of understanding and further researching into this subject. So that is one request. And make sure it has 18th chapter, because that book may be so old It may be in tatters, and the papers are all over the place, and the bound is there, but inside the content is gone. Make sure that I'm not making it up. There was a person and he was frenetically turning pages up and down. I got the book, but there is no chapter in there. So, the second is, even now it is not late. If you have your smart devices, all the phones and noise making devices, can you please put them on turn off mode, like on a vibrate mode if you are not on call? What about? Which speech? I didn't get it. That is okay. That I can control. See, that which is not smart I can control. That which is smart I cannot control. So be the smarter one controlling your smart devices. Please turn it off, just so that it doesn't become a nuisance and disturbance to a serene environment wherein we are trying to focus and grasp a point. Okay. And just to keep you warned, if your cell phone goes off, we will accept a donation of $50. Why, Swamiji? You don't know how difficult it is to work with Indian community. So please turn your cell phones off, and so that we can focus. So if you don't have a book today and there's somebody sitting next to you who has a book, share it with them. Please repeat after me. No, we are not going to sing, so you don't need to be charging up your vocal cords. You just have to repeat it. I'll be doing it in a very simplified manner. Anyway, ready? Arjuna Uvacha Sannyasasya Mahabaho Tattvamichhami Veditum Tyagasya cha Hrishikesha Prthakeshi Nishudana. If you are scared that I have never chanted, maybe I'll chant wrong. In this environment, you are permitted to chant wrong, but don't hesitate to chant. Chant. So at least it becomes a habit. So those of you who are very hesitantly looking on the sides like, oh my God, these seem to be in a very highly progressed spiritual, they are able to chant. Nothing to do with chanting and spiritual progression. So don't need to feel the discomfort. Just chant. So can you all repeat again? Arjuna Uvacha Sannyasasya Mahabaho Tattvamichhami Veditum Tyagasya cha Hrishikesha Prthakeshi Nishudana. Arjuna Uvacha. Arjuna asks. Now if you observe the format, it is called Samvada. Samvada, a dialogue between Arjuna and Krishna. See, the way people communicate, it can be again categorized in different categories. There is one which is called jalpa. What does jalpa mean? Meaningless conversation. There is no head, tail, purpose for it. There is just a meaningless conversation happening. It's jalpa. Jalpa meaning jumping around with various jalpa. Then there is vada. Vada, there is a debate. It becomes an argument when it is vitanda vada. That is an argument. Usually you experience it, right? You start with a very simple statement and the statement soon becomes a point of contention, and then it becomes aggravated opinions, and then vitandavada. It does not matter whether it is logical or not. What I say is the final say. My way, at least there is a hope, highway, or no way. That is vitandavada. But the best environment is samvada. Samvada, wherein there is a dialogue. An environment wherein it encourages thinking, ascertaining based on one's own investigation and understanding. Not because it is thrust on you, but because it gives you that openness, it gives you that room. Therefore, the vocal cords, if they make a noise, I don't mind. Because it has to be a discussion platform wherein the points that have been raised, you have to thoroughly understand it. If you don't understand it, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask those questions. Because we start out asking questions, right? Usually when the question answer sessions, and the very common starting line, what is the common starting line if you observe? The question may be, this question may be a little dumb, but please can you answer it? So I tell in every congregation that I go, that no question can ever be dumb. The questioner can be. Don't insult the question. If you don't ask, if you don't investigate, if you don't put forth that out, how will you go beyond where you are? So the dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, you will see it in the format of a question answer. And one thing that has been consistently bothering Arjuna right from the 3rd chapter. What is the 3rd chapter opening question from Arjuna? I don't expect you to remember it. It's an open book question. You can flip around and see the first shloka. It says, Tatkim karmani ghore maham niyojayasi keshava vyamishreneva vakyena buddhim mohayasiva me. Say there, Arjuna is still in a reactive mode. Though it is Bhagavan Krishna who is standing in front of him, he had associated himself with that being of a great warrior himself. And what was Krishna's position there? He was a mere charioteer. See, if you're talking over your phone and you're going in New York and you're on a taxi and you've been like arguing with someone on the other side, and your cab driver turns around to give you a piece of advice, what will be your attitude with which you look at that fellow? Does this concern you? You focus on your job. You drive. You don't need to eavesdrop onto what I am conversing here. That attitude comes in when you look at a driver. So practically what was Krishna's job here? He had taken the job of driving him around. And for a moment he forgot that he was his best friend. And just looked at him as the charioteer. And you seem to be giving me, talking about all this wisdom, but I think what you are saying is the most confusing statement. Tatkim karmani ghore mam niyojayasi keshava vyamishreneva vakyena. The confusion is not mine, confusion is in your head. The audacity of that Arjuna there is saying that Bhagavan, it is not me who has to correct, it is you who have to correct yourself. Very aggressive. From that aggressive mode of Arjuna's mindset, he is transformed. And a similar pattern question is still being asked because it still bothers him. Instead of that aggressiveness, he now accepts that yes, it is not you who have to change, it is I who has to change. But in that change that I have to bring in myself, I still am confused. I don't have that clarity. I seek that clarity. What clarity? The clarity about the field of action. Who is it that is qualified to give up the field of responsibility? And what is it that has to be given up? So he asks about two things. Sannyasa and Tyaga. Abandoning, Tyaga. Sannyasa, renunciation. Because in and through when Bhagavan Krishna is explaining from the second chapter, he says you have to apply yourself into that field of activity, but almost ends up saying that the quietude within is the most precious one. You have to acquire that quietude within. How do you expect me to jump into that field of activity and yet find that it seems to be contradicting? The same contradiction or the same kind of a confusion a mechanic had. A cardiologist, his car failed and he was to go to a important operation, and he calls the mechanic and the mechanic tows the vehicle and said, take about 40-45 minutes. Do you want to wait here or we can drop you off? He said, I can wait for 45 minutes. So while the mechanic is working on that car, he's just to make some conversation, right? When you go to a barber, they have to make a conversation with you and talk all kinds of things. So this mechanic says, Doc, there's not much of a difference between your line of duty and my line of work. You also clear up clogged pipes. I also do the same thing. But I get peanuts whereas you get paid so handsome. Where lies the difference? So the doctor just kept encouraging him to talk and he didn't utter much. But in 30 minutes when the car was repaired and he got his keys, the doctor turned the car on and the car was actually okay. But then he calls the mechanic and says, can you hear that sound? I think there is still something there. Can you hear that sound? He says, okay, open the hood. So he pops open the hood. So the mechanic again looks and says, turn the engine off. I have to take a look into it. He said, no, try to check it while the engine is on. Are you crazy? I said, for that craziness I am paid more. Because I have to work on that heart while it is working. And I have to unclog those pipes, which are called the arteries. Whereas you have to turn it off and work on it. There lies the difference. Even in life, we don't usually have that kind of a choice to take a time off and then revisit life, revisit responsibilities. Seldom do we have that kind of a luxury. Do we get that kind of a luxury? When experiences unfold, they demand our immediate attention. I cannot tell the experience, please wait on a hold. I have to create that mindset. Before you open your eyes, boom, the experience has hit you and you are knocked down by the experience. What happened? Life. And knocked over so many times in life. Such person, when you ask, how is your life? They say, life? I didn't say it. Yes, that is another one of my favorite lines. Do you know why life sucks? You know the lollipop? I am not talking of the Android software. The real lollipop. It is also called a sucker. Right? Similarly, life sucks because it is not the difficulty with life, because we are the sucker on the other end. Therefore, life sucks. See, in experience, there is the experiencer, experienced world. The interaction is where I want to find harmony. Interaction is where I want to find satisfaction, peace and happiness. What is it that is under my control and that which I can change to find that? Of these two parameters that I hold, experiencer and the experienced world, what can I change? Don't change my question paper. Experiencer, experienced, what can you change? Experiencer is more amicable for change. Where does the frustration come in? When we focus, instead of changing the experiencer, I want to change the experienced. As long as it is inanimate, we don't even realize it. Oh, this stupid thing is wrong. This, but there is nothing to react back. When that experienced is an animate being, problems begin. Isn't it? Where should the change come in? In myself, from within. But as long as I keep looking out, don't change my scenario, don't change my example. What if I have a responsibility to change others like my children? So we are not talking about that situation right now. There you have to execute it, there you have to insist, there you have to make sure. If not, you will fail at your responsibility. If you are the leader, yes, you will have to shape them up so that the entire team can execute. So don't change my situation that I am trying to. It is at an individual level. At your level, there you are the experiencer, there is the experienced world. The experienced world has its own turf. I may or may not have the possibility of changing it, but definitely I can change this, the experiencer. Have you seen a knife being sharpened? there are different methods. There is that sharpening stone that is rotating, and then you have the blade running across. Then there is those, if you have watched those Wild West movies, there is a strap leather, and then I'm talking of those classics like Good, Bad, Ugly, Mechner's Gold, wherein they or there is this new day, there is a little thing wherein you, in either case, to sharpen the blade, you need a rough surface. Not just the rough surface, you also need to understand how to apply this blade on that rough surface so that the blade comes out sharper than what it went in with. And that depends on the angle with which the blade is applied onto that rough surface. In Vedanta we call it as the art of right contact. The outside world is that rough surface. For every experience of mine, I cannot keep expecting them to change to accommodate me, but I have to accommodate so that I go through that experience and come out of the experience sharper rather than burnt out and blunt. That art of right contact has to be learnt. But my life is so challenging. Good. That means you have a life which is happening. What happening? You would not even understand. Everybody has their own turf that they have to deal with. Whoever is going with whatever set of experiences, it feels like nobody could have handled it. Yes, because it is your life, not my life. And each one of us gets those experiences only so that we can sharpen ourselves and move forward. Have you ever heard of a manufacturer who manufactures only locks, no key? Would it be a successful business? Who would buy it? For every rough situation, there is always a solution. You use a camera, and nowadays you have a smartphone, it is everything. That you have a front facing, you have a back facing, and you have the selfie mode. You have a camera. On the camera there are these two letters, W and T. Thank you. Wide and telescopic. Wide, it will give you the wide range. Telescopic, you can zoom in. Can you go into taking a photograph with a preset mode? That I will be holding it in this angle and then you adjust yourself. When the accessibility of the camera is in such a way that it has to be user friendly. That whatever be the situation, I should have the accessibility to play around with it to get the right frame, right lighting, and then capture that moment. Isn't it? If that camera did not give me that accessibility, would it be successful? Therefore, in the initial market, when there were these point and shoot cameras, there were those which did not have that. All that you could do is click. They were not that successful. And pretty soon they had to include that little elbow room so that I can capture the right frame with the right lighting there. I cannot go with a preset mindset that this will be in this angle or this wide or this telly. The rest of you now adjust to it. You are a bad photographer, or you are that aged person who doesn't know how to use the phone, holds on to it and they said, where do I click? Click right in the middle, and they click and say, oh, it's gone. You come across such people also, right? We are no better. We do the same thing with life. We go with preconceived notions. We go with judgmental issues. Expecting the world of things, beings and environments around us accommodate us for our convenience. Another example that can be taken. Have you played baseball or cricket? Which one? Cricket. The funny combination is the tail enders in cricket are supposed to be very good bowlers. They exactly know where to pitch the ball to fool the batsman and get them out. When they go as a batsman, they are one pathetic show. Why? They go with a preconceived notion. Any ball that comes in their way. If we go with life and every experience is a ball and we go with a preconceived shot, whatever ball comes, I am going to do this only. Why? I am like this only. You will be making a mockery of yourself. And what is the intelligence? However the ball comes, whatever be the experience, adjust yourself in such a way that you place that ball, you place that experience for your benefit and convenience. That accessibility, the equipment is required. How does it benefit? That we will see tomorrow. Before I conclude today, I would also request you to be on time. It's not like the other Indian programs wherein they announce that it starts at 7 and by 7:30 the organizer themselves start walking in there very leisurely and say, "Karenge, we'll do it." When we say we'll start at 7, we will sharp start at 7 and end sharp at 8:30. So please be on time, get your Bhagavad Gita books as well. We will continue this journey tomorrow. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. So I have been asked to announce that there is prasad. Yeah, there is prasad on in the adjacent room, and everybody please partake that prasada, and just been offered to the Lord. So what is that? So that is one question, one thing. So this is for the mind, this is food for thought, what you had for 1.5 year, and 1.5 hour. And when you go out, it is food for your Madhya Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh covered. So please have the prasad. And then you want to say, like you will have to say.
Hari Om. So there were some of the the families who have been attending the study group. They were also saying, can we have a Q&A with Swamiji? So tomorrow, that's again, it's since we have these lectures every day in the evening, but tomorrow this is going to be in the lunch time. If not lunch, what time is that? Mana, is that? 2:30. 2 to 2:30. If you anyone interested in having any Q&A with Swamiji, so we'll give you the address. It's going to be in Manaji's residence. Several interested people can have a special session with Swamiji, and any questions you all may have, we can do that.
Pertaining to the subject.
Swamiji can answer any questions, but there's no dumb question.
The person who has to answer could be dumb, right?
So we will have the address 2 o'clock. Mana, you can, if anyone interested, he has his address, so we can. You all are welcome to attend that. So thank you.